Hello, Snacks, welcome back. It's Jack here, and to make your day feel a little bit better, I thought we'd sample through some people who've really screwed things up for themselves in minor and major ways. So, without further ado, let's begin. Starting with a screw-up teacher who unintentionally completely nukes any semblance of their students' sense of self-esteem, possibly for the rest of their life. I'm a student supplemental instructor at my university for genetics. My job basically revolves around reinforcing concepts already taught by the professor as an optional side course. Earlier this semester, while going over parental blood typing, I got to explaining how having an AB blood type works as opposed to AO, which is half A type A, or AA, which is full A type A. Displaying this in little genetic Punnett squares. I asked if anyone knew their parents' blood type to the class, and someone raised their hand and told me that his father is AB and his mother is type A, and that he is type O, which is impossible. I went through with the activity for some reason and ended up having to explain to him that the only way this can happen is if his mother is AO and his father was type O, AO, or BO. He now didn't know if he's adopted or his mum cheated on his dad. After the session, I walked over to the genetics professor's office and confirmed with her that this is impossible, and she said she'd be mortified to try to tell him the truth behind that and hoped he was misremembering. Well, fast forward to today. A friend of his updated me and said that he confirmed the blood types, has kept it to himself, and figured out he wasn't adopted. I ruined how he sees his mother, and I kinda feel guilty about it. At least he did well on his exam, I guess. So yay! Destroying families, one scientific truth at a time. But it's in the comments where it gets, I think honestly, even worse. Because it turns out the OP might have been wrong all along anyway. As someone named The Physics Cold says, maybe you screwed up more than you think. Because in fact, it is possible to be O, being one parent AB and the other parent AA or AO. Just look at this thread. And okay, let's get more scientific factual knowledge from the most reliable of websites, Reddit. But anyway, yes, there's a post from over a year ago of someone going through this sort of thing too, and it seems to be a case that it's proven that, yep, it actually is possible that you can be blood type O, despite the other previous blood types. I'm not a scientist, okay? I read things. Point is, it may be a fact that this supplemental student person who just rehashes what the students are currently learning, look, they're humble enough to take this on board. See, apparently they went to their superior's office to see if there was any wacky genetics that could explain it, but they just took it at face value when their superior just said it's impossible. And ironically, it turns out they should have just Googled it instead. You know, that thing we joke about conspiracy theorists relying on all the time to come up with their theories and logic? Yeah. Apparently that's the best thing to do now. But yeah, more come out of the woodwork, more examples and scientific actual, data and sources, people pointing out that this is actually very possible that it's not at all a case of a cheating wife. So sorry, men go their own way groups who are probably reading this or seeing this post and thinking it justifies them to never trust any women out there, but no, not everyone's wife is cheating on them. Besides, hey, who just knows both their parents' blood types? I don't even know both my parents. And now a lesson in how to traumatize a mother. Today I screwed up by smuggling my 5-year-old daughter out with the trash. Today I left our apartment to take out the trash. I stop at the car to get some random trash that's been kicking around, and suddenly my daughter is behind me asking,
"What are you doing, Daddy?"
I let her know, and she insists on helping me. So we walk across the complex to the trash compactor. We get to our destination and she insists on helping. While we are navigating that, my phone is going crazy in my pocket. We finish putting the trash in the machine, and she asks if she can go to the park that's really close in the complex, and I agree. My phone is still going, so I pull it out when we get to the park, and it's my significant other, and I've missed 3 calls. In my head, I realize that Mama doesn't know that the little one is with me. I pick up the phone, and she asks, do I have our daughter I immediately fire back,
Oh no, I'm taking out the trash. Why would I have Lindsay?
my partner starts immediately sobbing, so I admitted I had her and we would head home to calm her down. My jokes are bad and I should feel bad. Good news is we are currently at the park playing. On to a mini update. To clarify the order of events, I told my significant other I was gonna go take out the trash. After I left, our daughter asked where I was, and when she got a reply, she left the room. Mama didn't hear the front door. Our daughter left the apartment, walked down the stairs, and approached me. Also, yes, I realize it was cruel and we'll be making up for this for days, if I'm lucky. And look, as someone who does not have kids, I can see the humor in it. But as many of these comments are clearly people who do have kids, I can totally understand how much you want to say that yes, you're a dick. Like, damn, that's a cruel joke. I hope she forgives you. I hope she doesn't. I mean, let's be real here. This woman thought she lost her child. I mean, how freakish would that be? Imagine losing your pet all of a sudden. I mean, at least pets have some capability to, manage themselves with being able to escape to a higher ground or something like that. A kid, they're a lost cause on the street. Though also, I do feel like it is just husband nature to make these sort of jokes. To go a bit of story time with my own history. When I was about 4, my sister a year older, according to my dad, he was looking at the bills one day, obviously a bit more expensive than what he and my mother could really afford at the time. So my dad decides to say to my sister and I, as a joke, again, we were 4 and 5 at the time, he said, and I quote,
Sorry kids, the bills are too high for this quarter. We're gonna have to get rid of one of yours.
Now, my friends, how do you think a 4 and 5-year-old would react to that information from one of their parents? Yes, we did in fact scream and cry and beg not to be taken away. We did run to our rooms begging not to be kicked out. What could have just been a quiet night of us calmly playing in the living room turned into a nightmare damage control situation for my mother, scowling at my dad to try and rectify the situation. It was something I now look back on fondly as like I wonder if that's where my need to be approved of came from. No hate on my dad. He's a good man, but definitely was ignorant in his humor back in the day, I'd say. Speaking of more men doing stupid things, today I screwed up by showing my dick to my wife's grandparents. So my wife and I have a very lighthearted relationship and like to joke around all the time with her and make her laugh. I do dumb things all the time to make her roll her eyes and call me an idiot jokingly. I was outside barbecuing with headphones on, sipping a beer and listening to music. I look over and see my wife walking outside, holding her phone up, obviously recording me or taking a picture. I instinctively pulled my shorts down and started doing the helicopter. She immediately looked mortified and turned around quickly and went back inside. I was very confused at her face, so I finished flipping burgers quickly, then went inside to find her with her head in her hands on the couch with her face red. I asked her, what is wrong? And she told me she was video chatting with her grandparents, which she never did before, and showing them around our home and showing them me barbecuing. I have never met them before and have only seen pictures. To say I am embarrassed is an understatement. Man, to instinctively pull down your shorts and start doing the helicopter. You have some amazing and well-honed instincts. He reacts willy-nilly. Now, this one actually has an update. Well, Reddit friends, her grandparents certainly did not just ignore this and pretend it didn't happen as I wished. My wife called them back last night, and luckily I wasn't home, but got the details of their conversation from her. She said that literally the first thing they said after saying hi is,
"Do Canadian men often do this with their body?"
They are from a small country and have no exposure to Western media or people. My wife explained to them that I was just joking and tried to explain the humor behind it. She said that she had a hard time not laughing while explaining this to them because they both had faces with extreme concern the whole time. They said that they discussed what they had seen with others in their village and their neighbors were concerned that I was some vulgar animal or something. Wife didn't really understand the words they used in translation. Anyways, long story short, we are going to visit them next spring and I am not looking forward to it. Hopefully Hopefully we can video chat a few times before then so it won't be weird. And yes, before you say it, I will keep the chopper in the hangar for all these calls. Now, what I do love is specifically this sentence. Wife didn't really understand the words they used in translation. Oh, sir. As commenter pointing out, mate, she is hiding the worst from you. I guarantee she knew what they were saying. She just, didn't want you to feel insulted as much as you are now embarrassed. Now, this next one's an insanely long read. To quote some of the top comments,
What a Schmidt show. You didn't dodge a bullet, you dodged the freaking artillery shell. What are the odds of getting two leeches on you and they just bite another leech, you bite one another and fall off, Jesus Christ.
So let's begin. Today I screwed up by offering my dying friend my spare bedroom. Part 1. The context. Me and my wife have been together since early 2014 and married in late 2017. We have been through much together, including 2 extended deployments, one of which was 10.5 months long. We have traveled the world together, lived on both coasts of the US, and despite much of our struggles and how things eventually went down, I was always convinced we would work as a team to overcome any issues. My friend in question was largely an online friend. We met playing a massively multiplayer online game during COVID, and we quickly formed a very tight-knit but small community that were very close, that included me, my wife, my friend, his wife, and 4 other friends. COVID was a wild time, and I was surprised how easy it was to form friends in this group, and we kept in touch. As a whole, even once quarantine had ended, and most of us had moved on from that particular game. This was a group that, while it started online, we have met most of these people several times in real life, and had vacations to spend time together and just hang out. My friends' problems. So we fast forward to about January of 2024. My buddy, from here on out, I will refer to as Z, and for a quick ad, I will refer to my wife as D. Z contacts us to tell us his condition is dire, and he has been diagnosed with stage 4 cirrhosis of the liver as a consequence of his extensive drinking. Us being shaken, we quickly charter a flight out to visit. Within a week, we're staying with him and his wife and his roommate and a couple members of his family who are taking care of him. This man is bloated, yellow, and probably about 350 pounds now. We are worried, but stay supportive and positive that help can be found, especially since he seems keen on changing his lifestyle for the better. Some of his family started a GoFundMe that we donate to, and many of the people in our gaming circle who have grown close also donate several $1,000s. One member of our raid team donated $10,000. You never know who is stealth rich on the internet, I guess. Anyway, me and several other friends discussed the possibilities of helping him get on disability and even getting ourselves tested as compatible living donors. Sad, but hopeful. We depart about a week later and stay in constant touch. About a month later, I'm getting a call from one of our mutuals, letting me know that,
Hey, so I may have goofed up.
and tells me how Z's wife had visited him and had a 3-way with him and his wife. I am obviously irate at this and turn to back up Z with comments like, wow, so much for in sickness and in health, huh? So I do what I can to stay supportive. And my wife, D, also makes it a point to stay in touch with him as he has found himself banished to the couch of his apartment, not even allowed to sleep in his own bed, and frequently uncomfortable even being in his bedroom to use the PC. Now, I'm not particularly rich, but I am not poor either. I served in the military and have a high VA rating, which means a constant income, and I have a steady job and a couple of side gigs that pay well enough. My love language, in many ways, is gift giving. I pride myself on being able to pick a good gift. Even if it's a little early for an occasion, such as a birthday or Christmas, I will often pull the trigger on something if it means a lot or I think it will help. In this case, my brother was selling an old Steam Deck because he wanted a new model. So I figured, oh, 2 birds, 1 stone. And I buy the Steam Deck off him and send it to Z so we can still game together. In the intervening months, Z and my wife D start playing games that I have no interest in, such as Disney Dreamlight Valley. But I am happy to play other games and hang out and chat. Really, nothing seems amiss. But since his banishment, me and my wife are both pushing for him to come and take up the spare bedroom we have in our home. Soon enough, I buy him a plane ticket, and he arrives with little more than the clothes on his back, and we take him in. No cost other than the expectation that he might help around the house a bit. I mean, he was a chef, so having a cook and someone to help clean was ideal for me, who often did not have the time or energy to handle these tasks as thoroughly as I would like. So on to the incident. Now, I am skipping ahead a little bit here, but there's not much to be said about the time between. My wife worked part-time hours, and when she did go to work, she'd have him tag along just so he wouldn't sit and stew with bad thoughts at the house alone. I will admit that throughout this entire ordeal, I had several times where my brain tried to warn me, but I ignored all of those signs because I trusted him. But more importantly, I trusted her with my life. One new frequent argument I found myself having with her was she would fall asleep on the couch, and when I finally tried to go to bed, I'd do my best to wake her and drag her upstairs. These became extremely frequent occurrences, and I expressed to her how frustrated I was that I had to fight with her just to come to bed so we could sleep. Mind you, this is not even about intimacy. Often, I'm taking her to bed at like 1 a.m. and I work at 7, so I really just wanted her to be sleeping in the bed. Hell, one time, I started catching the vibes that the longer I sat and waited for her to be ready to go upstairs, she just never would be, because they were waiting for me to leave so they could talk in hushed tones. On that particular night, I went upstairs alone with her finally awake, and she did not join me for another half hour. Finally, the day arrives. It's Sunday. We are all downstairs hanging out. One of their newest habits I can't really stand, but just dealt with, is that she'd sit and crochet while he doom-scrolled or strummed on a guitar I bought him and listened to music videos on YouTube endlessly. Eventually, I grew wary and give my wife a kiss and tell her I'm gonna go upstairs and play some Guild Wars 2 for a bit. About an hour passes, and she enters the game room and tells me, I am uncomfortable. I really need to talk to you. Oh, you're dying! As she entered the room, I immediately turned to face her and disregard the game, but it seems she decided that my character was more important than what she was about to say or what was going to happen. So of course, she warned me. We step into the bedroom and close the door. You're going to hate me, she says through tears. Me and Z kissed. At this point, my brain short circuits and I recall one of my first thoughts being, oh Lord, here we go. As well as just a general desire to not be part of this conversation. Shock sets in almost immediately. Still with a healthy dose of denial, I talked to her about what had happened and told her that it needed to end. Even at this point, I did not want to send this man home. I mean, was it shock, denial? Probably a mixture of the two, or some other additional emotional responses. She gets up after some discussion and goes downstairs, promising to shut him down, but comes back about 15 minutes later sobbing, I couldn't do it, I couldn't end it. Side note, in my confused haze of a mind, I feel personally threatened, and after she leaves the bedroom, I lock the door and grab a metal water cup that I keep at my side and prepare to actually fight if it comes to it. But once she returns, I back off that idea again. Talking with her more, I present her with two options: couples therapy or divorce. Both of these options are world-ending to her, and she even goes so far as to suggest that just because I said the D word, that it was what I wanted, which was objectively not true. We talk back and forth about things I don't quite recall at this point, aside from one point where she comes back and locks herself in the master bathroom and tells me to call 911. She doesn't care because she's going to take a bunch of pills, but after a couple of hours, Z shows up to the door and knocks and asks if he can come in. I tell him he may enter, and we talk for a bit. After about 5-ish minutes, we decide to go downstairs to the living room and continue the discussion. Once I sit down on the sofa, I immediately feel like I'm being positioned as the bad guy. I'm in the corner of our sectional, and she's on my left, he's on my right. She tells him, he said it's either a divorce or couples therapy.
Oh, so he gave you an ultimatum.
I continue to argue that, yes, those are the only two options. Z has the goal to tell me,
Well, you're not being fair to her emotions.
she is telling you there is another option. I am thoroughly baffled at this statement. My wife would say, I didn't think it was possible and I didn't mean for it to happen, but I have fallen in love with another man. My heart has room for two though, I truly have two soulmates. I have never been happier than sleeping on the couch next to my two boys. Z adding on, there is no reason you guys can't stay married, and we can explore what we found. I mean, look at how happy she has been since I have been here. Sick to my stomach, I get up to go vomit in the toilet. Now, I wore a silicone wedding ring and often find, even with a hand wash, a little water tends to get trapped under it. After I finish and wash myself up, I come back and am playing with my ring to dry it. She sees this as a sign that I am uncomfortable again wearing my ring and takes off her ring as I sit back down and hands me her wedding ring. Excuse me? My wife says, this is what you want, I can tell. No, I was washing my hands and water gets stuck under my ring. Oh, I thought, oh, okay. And she takes back her ring from me. So I tell her very clearly, the options are to either end things with him or end things with me. At this point, I'm still in shock, but sober in mind enough to decide that this is not worth fighting over. I will not argue with my own wife, my merits, or why she shouldn't just pack up and leave with a jobless, now essentially homeless man, and if she cannot figure out that herself, then I will eventually move on. Crying, sobbing, she sits down in front of him and says, I'm so sorry. I fought for you. I really did. I told you I'd fight for you and I failed. I loved being your girlfriend, but I need to be a good wife and stay. Z says, all right, and starts to go gather his things to leave. But as he does, she grabs him and says, no, wait, please don't go. I don't know what I want. And so Z starts saying, okay, well, if we're getting all this out in the open, I want to say this. I love this girl. I love her with my whole heart. And without her, life is not worth living. I will not leave this house if you tell me to. Only her. You were taking this very well right now, OP. I can tell you want to hit me. Now note, I'm still in shock. So no, I can genuinely say that emotional thought had not actually registered outside of the event upstairs earlier. But OP, this is my last stand. My wife then joins in to say, OP, we had a good run. I'm sorry. And with that, I get up and go get my sandals and leave the house to get some air. As I try to go, she runs to the door and he follows her. She pushes the door closed and says, no, wait, please. I say, no, this is the deal. I'm going to go out and get some fresh air. I am not threatening self-harm to win you back. She asks, will you be back? I say, I don't know. Z says, man, I'm telling you, you don't understand. You think I am your enemy, but I am not. And with that, I leave and shut the door. In about an hour that I am gone, I drive around near the house and I call my supervisor, who I have a very good relationship with, and I did not want to involve direct friends or family yet because I'm afraid it's too early to start spreading this news. But I go over to my supervisor's house nearby and we chat shortly. After our talk, I have at least something of a clear head and go home with words for both of them. As I arrive home, there is no one downstairs. I go upstairs. His door is closed. I knock on the door.
1 second.
I wait for about 5 agonizing seconds, but I refuse to be shut out of rooms in my own home, and I open the door. He is shirtless, and she is hiding in the corner just out of sight of me. I look him in the eye. Really? I ask.
Yep.
Get out of my house. And with that, they both silently pack their things and leave. The second I hear the front door close, I start calling people. Now, I am not above pettiness, and the first person I call is her mom, whom I have a good relationship with. She is shaken and immediately calls her. I find this out later that it was a particularly harsh verbal beating by her, but it really doesn't change anything. When I come downstairs to check the state of the house, I see her wedding ring on the counter. I call out of work the next day and lay down and hope I die. Now, the next 2 parts seem to just convey the problems between himself and his wife, the red flags that both of them seem to have, which I will be honest, a lot of it is completely unnecessary to the whole point of the story. So I will be skipping through basically all of this if it's okay with you. I think we can all agree none of this about him and his struggling with classes he did and studying and being emotionally neglectful sometimes, and her being purposefully incompetent are really important. So again, skipping ahead. Part 6, the aftermath. So I have had my friends come out in droves. Both of them have been effectively exiled, at least from what I can see, and from every friend circle we have. After a couple of days, they flew back to live with, I guess his parents in Vegas while they sorted things out, because after I spoke with Z's previous roommate, he adamantly explained that he was tired of all the drama that Z had been bringing into the house and was just done with it. I have spoken with many people and gotten even more context and even receipts of some of each of their conversations to our mutual friends, and some of the things I read is just hilarious. He is not ashamed of pursuing happiness. He is just sad that people got hurt, and she is coming to terms with emotional neglect and feeling trapped. But now, yes, now I am free. I got my neighbors to watch the cats and took my dog up to visit my closest friend of 20 years and spent about a week and a half drinking, smoking, and talking about all this while surrounded by some of the most beautiful nature the US has to offer. Truly, without this man, I don't think I'd have gotten this far as quickly as I have. He really has been a lifesaver, and I truly, to my dying day, will always appreciate him. Now, the paperwork has been filed. We wish to remain on good terms, and one day, I still do hope I can be a friend to her. But she is woefully immature and incapable of adequately performing in an adult society. I have quit my job and am returning to school with a much lighter budget and will be getting that degree I desperately need. It's been hard, really hard. I have put every ounce of my being into this relationship, and I truly felt like she was part of me, and nothing like this could ever happen. But it's that trust that allowed this to happen. I do not hate her. I'm just disappointed. I will pick up my pieces and hopefully find myself whole again soon. Now there is a final part 7 with rambling anecdotes, just recapping some further short bits throughout their entire relationship that were some signaling red flags. Honestly, it's a lot that's not necessary to go over specifically. We'll just go through some interesting highlights. Things such as Z and D's favorite TV show to watch together was Outlander, which, if you aren't aware, is basically a story about a woman who time travels and has 2 men in her life. Also, the day of the incident, we were in the shower together and she told me she had met her sister's new boyfriend on FaceTime. I asked, oh, why did she break up with her old one? Oh, well, she cheated on him. Oh, I said, that's a shame. Cheating is probably the most cowardly act a person can do to another. If you're going to start a new relationship, you need to grow a pair and end it before starting a new one. She clearly took my words to heart. Also, Z's wife is currently pregnant with the baby of the man she cheated on him with, and he is also married. So I hope that answers the question as to what these comments were all about when they were saying this was an absolute Schmidt show. I mean, well done to be absolutely throwing everything away for the sake of pursuing a fantasy based on a TV show / book series that you clearly named your vibrator after. Like, I know it's not fair to insult people in such a way, but screw it, Z deserves this. She left you for a 350-pound bloated liver-failing loser. Anyway, friends, with that story wrapped up, we'll finally end things there. Thank you as always for watching. Love your face. Oh, and just quick, I understand if the captions thing is kind of annoying. I'm trying to practice editing these videos so I can convert them more easily when I eventually try to share them around on places like TikTok, etc. Also, frustratingly, it does seem to encourage the algorithm for some reason when I have the constant motion on the screen like that, so I'm going to be consistently experimental with it all as time goes on with making videos, but thank you if you're not finding it annoying, or if you are, you're tolerating it. I appreciate it so much. And again, thank you. Love your face. Bye-bye.